All right, good afternoon, everybody. So we're going to go over the higher time frames for NASDAQ, crude oil, 6E, and gold. Anyway, let's start with crude, and I'm just going to kind of go through as quickly as I can, and if I'm losing you or if you have any questions, just feel free to ask. All right, so crude. I am thinking that the fourth wave high is in. We've been going back and forth with this. I suppose this would be the last spot it could possibly put in what could be an ABC back down into this low for a final push up, but I'm thinking that's less and less likely. I mean, you have, for one thing, this first push up, this first set of three waves is a perfect zigzag where the C wave is exactly 100% of A. So if that is all one complete set of three waves, and then this is B, or you could say WX, which is more likely, then this is likely the end of C or Y, and that one is exactly 61.8 of A, which is typical. So we had been thinking that for a while. I mean, we had the high, and then it went sideways for 7 weeks until it finally broke down. So now that we've taken out these lows, I'm going to assume that the high is in, and we will continue heading lower. And remember, this is all looking at this entire move as one giant correction. So this was the massive bull market up since the inception of crude oil. And this is the big, massive correction that will likely make it down to about 25. And that is another 2,000 ticks. So we basically need one more big swing low. Perfect 5 down for 3, 4, and then 5. I was toying with the idea that we would go back and make a new high and potentially come back into this previous fourth wave here, which is what we quite often do. But now that we've taken out that low, I'm thinking that's much less likely here. You are at potential support, and you'll see another nice area here just connecting this low. It looks a lot better on the daily chart. It's coming in perfectly at this low here, and we've had a tremendous sell-off into that final low. So somebody said, I think Brad said that we had a pretty large hedge fund, one of the biggest hedge funds, that unloaded their long position in crude today or last night, which probably helped to form that capitulation low that we've had here. So, you know, the way that it's looking, this might be more of an important swing low than I'm otherwise thinking. Let's look at that here on the daily chart. This is a 1440 minute chart, which is essentially a daily chart. Let's give it a second to load. Give me 1 second. I'm trying to turn on these hotkeys. There we go. All right, so yeah, that low that we had this morning coincided with this trend line perfectly, and this is a pretty massive sell-off, and it's turned into what is so far a V bottom. And you know, we tend to see that at the ends of corrections, at the ends of very important swings, and we have that here. We have a huge amount of relative volume. That's 776% on the 240-minute chart. That's not a number we see too often on the 240-minute chart. You see this is about as high as we typically get, about 500, maybe 600%, but this is almost 800%, and that's right around midnight. So it hit that trend line from low to low and has been turning up ever since. We made a nice little ABC back up, which I did try to short here. Let me redraw this. This is looking a little funny here. So connecting from low to low, we came right back into that channel. I actually shorted it a little bit too early right here on this trend line, and then got ticked out up in here. It has turned back down, and you know, it may, when it opens up on Sunday, it may start to roll back down. But as far as I can tell, that's looking like a V bottom. So 2,250% on the hourly chart at that low. So just a massive amount of volume into that low, and then we've turned up incredibly hard up and out of that low. So I figured I would give it a shot here. This is about the last little downtrend channel. It's an incredibly steep downtrend channel. So anyway, I did try to take that short. Didn't quite work out. It's really high range, so massive average range. So the volatility is just out of control today. At any rate, I would imagine we'll get out of this low probably a higher low. We may, out of the top of the channel that I just showed you on the hourly chart, get a push back down to potentially test this low. Likely going to get a higher low out of this and then a deeper retracement back up, which will probably take a number of days to get back up. So you've got the next major area of support that we're at, essentially, right here. I mean, you know, does it get any more obvious than that as a major area of support? Not really. That's about as obvious as it gets. So I imagine we'll get potentially back up into, I don't know about making it all the way to that downsloping median line. You know, anything's possible, obviously. But we're back inside of this channel. See, this is the one that we broke out of. I would imagine one of these parallels of this trend line from low to low is going to be where we'll top out at. And once we start making, you know, a higher low, a new set of swings in here on the hourly chart and the 20-minute chart, then we'll have a better idea of where this thing is likely going to end. Yeah, probably up around in here. So again, incredibly huge amount of volume coming in off of this area where the trend line from low to low is intersecting that. So likely going to keep moving up and out of this low for a while, or at least knock it sideways for a number of days, maybe a week or more. And then we'll see where it's at by the end of next week. I imagine probably somewhere up in here. All right, so let's move on. Gold. Gold was last week, if you remember, it was up. I think it had already turned down from this high. What was this high? Probably the most obvious area that we've had. Perfect trend line. Yeah, that's it. There we go. Perfect symmetrical move where the median line, the center median line, is intersecting that channel line. I want to say I had a number of different things here. I can't remember. I've lost, like I said, I lost everything as far as what I had marked up. I think it was this one. No, not quite. Anyway, there was a number of other areas that came in right here, but this was, pretty much picture perfect. I know a number of people would be thinking that, number of Elliott wave analysts anyway, would be thinking that this is a big A wave down, and we're looking for a big B wave up, of which we've already had the A and the B, and we're in C. The problem with that now is the fact that we've rejected down from one of the most beautiful and perfect of areas here. So I think I know what it was. I think it was this upsloping median line here. No, it was the midline of that channel. That's what it was. All right, so it's just connecting low to low. It's the midline of that channel, you see? So a number of different areas in the market geometry coming together right there. And it's looking like a potential ABC at least. So the low that it's made is a pretty nice looking area for a swing low. I mean, look at that. You've got, just like we had at the high here, with this symmetrical move, this median line intersecting that channel line, you've got the same exact thing happening at the low. You've got the median line intersecting the channel line. It looks, picture perfect on the weekly chart, but once we start adding some more bars in here, you see it's a little bit different on the daily chart. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll use the daily chart. We'll also use the 1440. See, on the daily chart, it looks pretty much perfect. It's the difference between using the lowest low or the widest perpendicular swing. And by default, the software uses the widest perpendicular swing, which is what's coming in so perfectly there. Let me find my 1440 minute. There it is. Yep. Pretty much perfect at the low. So many would be thinking this is a 1-2. 1, 2. I'm not even going to attempt to try and count this in front of you. But that is definitely one possibility. I'm no longer liking this because of the fact that it's such an incredibly obvious move down out of that high. I'm going to wait and see what's going to happen here. Either way, I imagine we're putting in a low here and we're going to turn back up. The problem with that is, well, I'll do this. I'm not going to get crazy with it, but it's either a 1, 2, and a 3, or it's an A, B, and a C, I think the issue with what's happening in here now, to assume that this is a low, I think is, for right now, incorrect because of the fact that, let me show you. How did I have this? Well, forget about all that. Let me just show you this. We've got out of this push down here. I think this is the separator wave. I think this is all one pattern here. The separation, and then the next leg here. You've got 5 down right in here. Nice sideways move up for a 2. And I think this is 3. And I think either that is 4, or we're going to come back up and make wave 4 there and then have the final push down. I think once it does that, then we'll have this low here, which is either a wave 3 or a wave C, and that's really going to determine whether we're making the low here or we're going to keep heading down. So the area this is going to be right back at is going to be, excuse me, the area that we've found support on so far, and then we'll just kind of overthrow that a little bit. And I think once we do that, then we'll see exactly what's going to happen. If it does find support there and then turns up strong, that would confirm that this is the startup of a third wave. If it stops there and then kind of turns up and kind of drifts up, you know, sideways, maybe we get a little bit of a short covering rally, but nothing too dramatic, then I would assume that we're just going to do a shallow correction and keep heading down. So this next low that we make is going to be key in deciding what's happening here. So I was wanting to actually come back up into this area up in here. Let me see what that is on the retracement. It was like 38.2 of the third wave. Yeah, right here. I was basically wanting to come up into this little area. And if we did that, I was hoping we would do that today. It didn't set up. This high was just a picture perfect little swing high on the 5-minute. It just, you know, it happened at 4:45 in the morning. So not much you can do about that. But if we can come up into here, either this would be a double 3 or, well, just to explain it, either we'll have 3 waves into this high or 5 for a completed correction. And if that sets up, then I would short that, expecting the next move down into this low to below this low for a completion of this 5-wave move here. So let's see how many ticks that might be. Yeah, over 100 ticks. So that would be ideal. And that last push lower, I mean, that should all happen most likely within 1 day. And that would probably be Monday evening. So I'm thinking if this is going to come back up and make this high, this will likely be Monday morning. All right, it's closing now. We'll get some kind of movement in the overnight, Sunday night. And then hopefully it may set up, you know, before we open the trading room, but hopefully it'll be up in here for that short. If it moves lower into the overnight, then we'll see what this low does. If it turns up, you know, real quickly with a lot of volume, then we'll immediately be looking for a higher low Monday morning. So I want to see what this looks like. If it comes lower, makes the low. If it pushes up real strong with a lot of volume, I'll be looking for the higher low out of these areas that we have for what is a potential third wave up. But like I said, I'm not so sure about that. We've turned down from a pretty obvious major area of resistance, and we've turned down incredibly strong. You see, I mean, that's a massive weekly bar down. Doesn't mean it can't stop on a dime. I mean, you saw what happened here. You see what did happen here. Big, massive weekly bar down, stops on a dime. Took it about a week to build that low, and then it turns up 3.5 weeks in a row. So I think we've got some waiting to do. At any rate, we'll see what kind of low it makes on Monday, and the move out of it will determine whether we're looking for a higher low or the next short setup to keep coming down. NASDAQ is unbelievable. Pretty incredible move we've had. Let me do this. We're breaking up out of the top of this channel. Let me draw another channel here, because we have another obvious area that we may actually end up getting all the way up to. NASDAQ and the ES are kind of, well, they're looking a little bit different now that we've had all these earnings reports out of the technology companies. NASDAQ is cruising up a lot faster than the ES is, than the S&P 500 is. So as far as this channel is concerned, this would be the next. I mean, you don't have another high in between these two lows. So the next major area of resistance would be one swing back, and that would be this parallel here. And that's quite a bit higher. That's at 5,800, and that's another 600 ticks up. What I'm seeing right now, though, is the end of what is likely this move up. You see, I was hoping for a bit deeper correction in here this week, today, exactly. Let me show you that. I was hoping for this being an A and then a B. I suppose it still could be, but it's looking like it's about to take off to the upside. Keep moving up, in other words. So it could still be an expanded flat and then get the deeper correction, but it's already broken the high. So what I was thinking was, one, two, three, and then a deeper fourth wave correction. But it's looking more and more like this is your wave 4, and now we're going up to complete this leg, okay? And this leg up is from this swing low. Sorry, it's from this swing low, yeah. So to complete this section up right here, we're looking for 5 waves, and essentially right now we have it. So this is looking like a complete section now from this low. So what I think we have, and it doesn't, you don't have to get too technical with this stuff, but what I'm seeing is the end of this third wave. And then we can get a deeper correction. And now that we've broken well outside of the top of this channel, I wouldn't be surprised at all if we pull right back to the top of it and then take off back up from it. So, what do you do in a situation like this when the market's been cranking it to the upside? It's getting that kind of extended move. Obviously, a lot of people are frantically trying to get into this. I mean, this is where you have the crowds going wild. Basically, everybody's talking about how big their 401ks are getting. Are you in stocks? No, you're not. Oh, well, why not? People are jumping into, the public is all getting long in here. So obviously you don't want to try and buy this thing at a high, but if we can get a deep enough correction over a period of a month or so, maybe a little longer. This one was about a couple of months, I guess, a few months, a couple of months. So if we could get a deep enough correction, then you would have a pretty nice opportunity of getting into at least one more leg of this move to the upside. I tried to get into this thing a couple of times in this wave and missed one of them, didn't take another, and got stopped out to the tick of the last big push up. So I basically missed most of this to the upside from a few weeks ago. So what I want to see at this point, now that we're up at the top of this channel, this pretty big channel really, broken out of the top of the huge channel into the top of this, excuse me, steeper channel. We're right at it right now. We're closing on the high. I want to see this thing pull back in a nice deep correction that takes up, it's looking like at least about 4 weeks, and potentially buy this thing in here and hold for the next move up. Of course, that's a swing trade we're talking about. But look at the high that we made today. That is a massive churn bar. What is a churn bar? Churn bar at the high, especially if you're at an area, is a very good sign of hitting supply. So we're moving up into an area. The previous bar, this is an hourly chart, non-back adjusted hourly chart. Previous bar was a very wide ranging bar. The final bar was a very narrow range with twice the amount of volume. So we've obviously hit resistance. Okay, it's incredibly high volume per range, and it just so happens that that last move up traces out a channel. So I'd say we still have the potential for an A, B, and then 5 waves down for C. But we'll see on Sunday night if it gaps up and then keeps moving. I think we'll just move probably not too much higher, but let me set that up. I would say potentially to this median line or the top of that channel. And that would be, a slight throw over up in here. This is about, let's see exactly what price it is. Almost 5,700, so 5,690. That would be a pretty decent throw over of the weekly chart, not massive. But a decent enough throw over, I think, to put in that final wave 3 high, out of which I imagine we'll get a nice sell-off and correction. So there'll likely be some pretty phenomenal shorts in there after this thing finally makes that high. But ultimately, I want to see it come down and then find the end of this corrective low. Okay. And then the 6E, it made it perfectly to the top of this channel today. I mean, to the tick. This is the 1440-minute chart. Pretty much anybody who's counting this thing, whoops, sorry. Anybody who's counting this thing is looking at this as a triangle and has been for a very long time. And the question always was, into this low, well, is this the final low? So for instance, 3, triangle 4. Sorry, I meant to do a 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is, you know, classic picture perfect sets of waves here, just like we have on crude oil in a perfect triangle. The question has been, is this the end of wave 5, or are we going to do one more wave down? And now this is such a big, long, drawn out move. It's looking more and more like it's 1, 2, a series of 1, 2s. Right? But the thing is, we can't assume that until this channel breaks. So I'm not going long into that channel. We've had 2 sets of 5 waves up. This is a mess here. I mean, you could try and say that's a leading diagonal for 1, but really, to me, it looks more like an ABC up, which is why I was thinking, well, okay, then this could potentially be a WX and then another ABC for Y, as this traces out another perfect set of 5 waves to the upside. So it's tracing out a perfect set of 5 waves to the upside right into the top of a channel. And corrective waves tend to trace out channels, right? Most of them, unless it's an expanded flat. So the fact that it just so happens to be making a perfect 5 up right as it's coinciding with the top of that channel is a little coincidental, isn't it? So I'm thinking I have to at least give it a shot for a short here. But the fact is, it's, let's see how many bars that is. You're looking at almost 100 bars on the daily chart. So it's not exactly a high you want to short, you know, right at the high. The chances of you getting into that perfectly are pretty slim. So what you want to see is a rejection out of that high and then a retracement back up, and find the end of that retracement back up as the end of a correction. So likely Sunday, Monday, we'll see that push down out of this high. Even if we're going to go to new highs, I imagine we'll find quite a bit of resistance here at this level, and then see some kind of a sell-off on Monday or Tuesday. And however that looks, I mean, we've got pretty strong divergence here on the 240. So it basically just went sideways for a number of days. And now that we've broken out to a new high, we have 5 waves up here and then a complete 5 up here. So essentially this is 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4 for a double 3 sideways, and then 5. See, we're kind of through that 100% target for the 5th wave though. But that's right into all those major areas on the daily and weekly charts. The only thing that we really have room to would be the top of this last uptrend channel. And, you know, I wouldn't be surprised to see it actually make it up here, which could take another day or 2, probably about a day potentially Monday. And that would coincide nicely with a throw over of the bigger area on the daily and the weekly chart, which is this, depending on where you draw it. See, that's the thing. If I draw it from this low, then we're pretty much through that area. If I draw it from this low, then it coincides perfectly with this channel also, which is higher up there. So we do still have room to the top of these two channels, and they're intersecting pretty much right there, which looks like Sunday night, maybe Monday, where they're intersecting. Yeah, Monday or Tuesday. So we do have plenty of room up to the top of that channel. What I want to see is either a move up into that area or maybe break a little bit higher on Sunday night, Monday. And then if we get that really sharp push down, just like we're looking for in gold, up, because gold is making a low potentially. If the euro is making a high, then I want to see that sharp move down and then start to look for that lower high, which could give a really nice runner down, something similar to this over a period of a couple of days or even more, but I'll likely just try to go for, you know, a couple of hundred ticks. So I want to see how this thing is going to come up and make the high, if it's going to happen here or a little bit higher, and then the rejection out of that. And depending upon the, you know, the rejection out of that, that will determine the next trade, which will likely be a lower high that I'm looking for. So basically like this. Something like that. And then look for that lower high correction, probably not taking up that much time actually. Something like that. And then the next push down, which may not come all the way down, but it could come back into this area anyway. So if we are going to go to new highs and we've already put in the low, then this is a series of 1-2s. So a big 1, 2, another big 1, 2, and then likely one of the third wave up here. So either way, we should be finding some pretty major resistance and turning down. Either it's going to be turning down into a new move to a new low down to parity, or it's going to be turning down into a larger correction on the daily and weekly charts. All right, any questions about any of that? It's a pretty strong looking low in crude. It's a really nice looking area right here. Same thing in gold, just not as just the fact that it's turned down out of that incredibly obvious and strong area. And it's turned down so quickly over the past week. Yeah, it's right into some support, but is it going to hold? I don't know. So again, for gold, I'm looking for a push back up, preferably, that I could short on Monday, and then the final push down. So either that final push down will happen Sunday night and Monday morning from here, or we'll go up and have an area that we could actually short for that next push down. And then depending on how it looks coming up out of that low, we'll be considering whether we're going to get, you know, short from a deeper correction or look for a higher low. in gold. All right, guys. If there aren't any questions, I'm going to go ahead and shut it down. Everybody have a great weekend, and I'll talk to you guys in the trading room on Monday. All right. Have a good weekend.